Hello and welcome back to another edition of Roll Q. Today, I'm joined by some of the SMITE minor league stars that we have here at LAN for the placement weeks. We've got Sops from Hype Unit, Netrioid from Sanguine, DeathPanter from Simplicity, and of course, PrettyPrime from Out Cold Gaming. Guys, you guys all had pretty interesting paths here. No one really had a straight shot to make it here to placements. Prime, I want to start with you. Your team in particular, Out Cold, didn't quite live up to expectations at the beginning of the year, even took until this very last set to make it in. What has this year been like for you at the minor league level so far?
Ooh, coming into it, I thought it would be so much easier, to be honest. Like in the start, we had such a good team. And I don't know why it didn't go so well. I guess we swapped out a couple of supports along the way.
Sure.
I guess no one of us have ever played together though, except for Frost and Breeze. It was kind of hard in the start. And then first play ended pretty bad. We had some kind of upswing towards the end. And then going into the second split, it felt a lot better. Didn't really go a lot better until the very end again. Like, I don't know, maybe we were slow.
Yeah, it took a little bit of ramp time, you know?
Yeah. And then it was rough though, because we needed other teams to lose for us to make it.
Sure.
But it worked out.
Yep, you're here. That's right. Yeah. DeathPanter, you guys, I think everyone expected Simplicity to come in beginning of phase 2 after a really good performance at MSI and kind of wipe the floor with the region. Certainly coming in as a first seed, you got to feel pretty good overall, but maybe not quite as dominant as many would have expected. What was this second phase like for you guys as a team?
Yeah, I mean, you always want to go 10-0, right, if you can, possibly, but I don't know, I feel like we played pretty well, very consistently. It's just, the region's quite strong, in my opinion. Like, teams like Queso, Flashpoint, who haven't made it, very strong. Outcold, a good team. Both combine teams that joined the league in
Horizon
in the
Union
summer.
popped, man.
They were both actually really impressive. So the competition is just rough, but still made it first seed, so I'm happy.
Yeah, can't complain with that. Netrioid, for you guys, I mean, the big story was, can they make it to LAN number 1? But then, is everyone going to be able to come? Yeah. Unfortunately, no Yarkor again, but Haddix this time around. How difficult is that for you guys to make it to these LANs and then not have the full roster?
I mean, we feel pretty confident right now, to be honest. I think Haddix is a good player. He can fill up Yarkor's spot really good, and I don't know, we definitely feel happy about it, so that we bring a very good player.
Yeah, I think last time you had your coach, manager there fill in, pretty good player, but not that same level. Do you think that Haddix, certainly a better player, but maybe less synergy with the team, is that a concern, or have you guys been able to work that out?
I think we will be able to work it out, to be honest. Yeah, we feel pretty confident, as I said.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sops, for you guys, I mean, start off phase 2, super hot. We're undefeated for a long time, then went through a bit of a down stretch. What was your kind of feeling as you guys got off to a hot start, then cooled off, and then ultimately made it to LAN?
So we were like super confident, especially after beating Sanguine and Armada. Probably a little too confident. And it got to the point where, like, we would get frustrated losing. So, and that's what made Pagon ultimately leave the team. And even after picking up Gamma, we were still sort of struggling, but I feel like after barely making LAN, thanks to Sanguine, we were like, okay, we definitely can't go into LAN the way we've been playing like the past few weeks. So we've just like stepped it up a lot. So
yeah, absolutely. Prime, I want to go back to something that you kind of highlighted there, which was that SML was much harder than you were expecting. And a lot of you guys have that top end experience, but I think the SML has grown so much this year in particular. I mean, Sops, I guess we can start with you. This level of SML play seems so much higher than it's ever been. Do you feel the same way? Do you think that the SML's really grown?
Yeah, I'd say like especially the top teams, because last year it was literally Oxygen Supremacy, I think. Or
that was a couple years ago.
I forgot. It was Paul's team.
Whatever. Oh yeah. I forget what they were called.
Yeah, I can't remember their name, but like they were like just super at the top, and they were just dominating. And then there's like 2-3 teams that were like doing okay. But like now I feel like everyone's always like on the same level, and they can just take each other out like no matter what. So it just depends on what team's feeling the best that day.
Yeah, Netrioid, how about for you? I mean, you've been in the minor league for a little bit. You've seen the teams kind of change through the years.
Yeah, it has grown. Actually, everyone can beat everyone right now, so that's kind of cool. So you have competition.
Yeah, absolutely. DeathPanter, I mean, you've been in the SML, up to the SPL, back to the SML. I mean, is that gap closing, you think, at the minor league level?
Yeah, we had like last year I was on Insigniam, and we literally stomped like every split. And now this year is actually very rough. But I think it's partly to do with as well, like now we have Felis and Maniac on our team, and Outcold's full of like SPL players. So now that you get half a year of scrims with SPL players, like the bottom end teams get better off it as well.
Sure.
I think that's mostly to do with it.
Yeah, I think the bottom end, particularly in Europe, is just so much stronger than it's ever been. I mean, even Exordium that really struggled when they first came in improved a whole lot. I mean, Prime, you went from a top end contender at the SPL level down to the minor league. Was it a huge gap in play, or did you think it was closer than you were expecting?
I don't know. I was with my old team for such a long time, so it's kind of hard to know. But it always takes a while to when you get on a new team to ramp it up. Sure. Even if everybody's experienced, you don't really mesh very well, and the core was a bit iffy in the start. I feel like the most impressive thing was the 2 combine teams that came in, because they were pretty bad when they came in the start, right? But towards the end, they kept taking games of really good teams.
Yeah,
it was the most impressive growth for me, really.
Yeah, 100%. What is the biggest difference between the minor league and the pro league as far as a player is concerned? What separates them the most?
As individual players, like we scrim less than I did in the SPL, but I also have less time now, I guess. But individual players, I don't know, like you don't have the whole experience, I guess. Like mechanically, this shouldn't be any difference at that level anyway. So it's gotta be knowing how you win a game and how everybody needs to sacrifice their things to win a game, I guess, because people might be just ranked and like grinding too much, and then you focus on yourself, but you kind of got to do other things in competitive to eventually win the game.
Sure. DeathPanter, what about your opinion? What do you think the biggest difference is between minor league and pro league?
Yeah, I think how you play the map is very important. Like in minor league, like and now it's not that bad, but like in the last split and the beginning of this split, it's like all about early game. You get like to a snowball lead. Well, once you get to like a 30-minute even FG fight, you're not really gonna win it. And I think that's the biggest thing with SPL is they don't rely on early game. I mean, Splice kind of rolled the entire SPL with early game, and but I don't know. I think like the mid-late game team fights, playing around the map, like that's very different.
Sure, absolutely. Netrioid, what stands out for you between minor league and SPL?
I think the way you play the map as well, because it's pretty different. Some teams in the SMITE just like to stomp or play in the early game, and we like to team fight a lot, so we kind of just chill, I guess. So yeah, I think that's the difference for me.
Sure, Sops.
Definitely patience. I feel like SML teams just like want to win the game as soon as possible. So when it comes to objectives, they kind of get like too aggressive for it and then end up losing fights late game.
What do you think is that transitions pretty well into what I wanted to talk about next? Feels like the meta is pretty different, and it used to just be like an SPL meta would happen from spring to summer, SML would be doing whatever, and then by fall time, they would be doing like summer SPL meta, and it would just kind of be a couple months behind. But now it just feels pretty different. Do you think it's because of the way that SML teams want to play the game? Do you think it's that God pools don't get punished as hard? Like, what do you think is the biggest factor in the difference in metas?
I think it's definitely God pools. Like, I feel like AMC and stuff, just people with or gods with no escapes, I feel like get punished super hard in SML, especially with how players play like Thor. Like Baskin would play Thor and Baskin, like in the first split, and even now. And if you were playing AMC, if you weren't hugging your tower, and even then he would just look to tower dive because he's just that ahead.
Right.
Like, it's super hard to do anything, and I feel like SPL teams tend to play a little more calm and tame, so they can sort of get away with picks like that.
Interesting. Netrioid, why do you think the meta is pretty different at those levels?
It's kind of rough for me, at least, because I had to play mages, I had to go back to hunters, I had to do almost everything, and it was like pretty rough. But I think patience is the key, and my team was like every time they were like supporting me, saying, "Okay, you're going to do it," stuff like that. So yeah, I think the meta right now is kind of weird, at least for me. But it works out, and you just gotta go on.
Don't want to be playing mages. Want to stick to the hunters.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the meta looks like it might be shifting that way a little bit. We'll see, of course, what happens this week. DeathPanter, why do you think the meta changes at a different pace and is so different than at the SPL level.
I think for European teams, we have a lot of like very typical playstyle teams, like Flashpoint, for example. They have Fusify play like Saket or Kuma and be annoying, and then they try and have Zoni and Farrakhan carry the game. And then Queso have a very specific playstyle where they play around like team fights. But other than that, I think, for example, last year we would still scrim SPL, like bottom teams SPL. We scrim like Obey and Mouse and SK, but now, of course, we can't scrim any SPL teams at all, so maybe that factors in as well.
Sure. Yeah, I think not getting that practice with the SPL teams probably factors in. Prime, how about for you?
I feel like, well, we first need to see the meta, so you have to wait until the SPL plays it, and then you kind of have to play it a bit before you really understand why you do it. I guess you had to swap to hunters now, which was kind of boring for quite a while. But that's different, though. That's just because everybody wants you to have pressure, so they don't have to have pressure, so they put it on you. Like,
Look at a DeathPanter like, you know what I mean? You know, you
win the start for me, and then pick some random guardian jungle.
Yeah.
But I don't really know why it's so much slower. I guess we have there's so less variety. Variety is the word in SML though, because you play very certain playstyles all the time, like Queso and Flashpoint mostly, and they kind of played their own game every single game, so you don't get. Like they win in the same manner every game, so you don't get to try that many new things really.
Sure. Yeah, those I think those team identities, especially for the teams that have been at that level for so long, right? Like Flashpoint's been playing in the minor league for how long? You know, they're just going to kind of stick to what they know, and has brought them some degree of success. Speaking of those play styles, I do want to go in and normally on these role queues we end up having you describe each other's playstyle as players, but it's harder because it's cross-region for a lot of you guys. So instead, I want to talk about what you think about with their team as a whole. And Prime, we can start with you talking about Simplicity. What stands out for you when looking at and playing against Simplicity?
I feel like Simplicity has a very good 3v3, which is very important right now. And I feel like they mainly play around like Maniac. Like the 3v3 gives them pressure, and then they kind of rotate it over to blue buff, and then they kind of win that way. And that's mainly how they win, I feel like. And then Genetics runs that slaps you all the time, which is super annoying.
Yeah, Genetics running it down is definitely a key part, it feels like.
And then it's just, I don't know. I would say they're very aggressive, but like in a good way. There is other teams that are also very aggressive in a bad way. But
sure, they toe the line.
I think they punish lack of pressure a lot better than all the other teams, is what I would say.
Interesting. Netrioid, how about for you? When you watch Simplicity play, what stands out to you?
Simplicity is a really good team for me, to be honest. Their players are so good for me, and when they play the map, I think we at some point we kind of copied them when we watch their bots and stuff. But I don't know. I feel like they are so good together, and they're pretty good contenders right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Sops?
I would say their playstyle, as in like they're not as aggressive as a lot of the SML teams. They definitely take it a lot slower. So they end up just playing for team fights, and I feel like they excel a lot at that. So they do pretty well with that.
Yeah, I mean, DeathPanter, for you've had a lot of teammates that have had success at the SPL level and the SML level. This team feels like a really good mesh for you guys, but you've also done some switch ups. I mean, you go to long lane sometimes, Streak Up's been going to mid. I mean, what is this team dynamic in comparison, just as a player playing with these guys compared to, say, the Elevate days when you were playing with Cherio and those guys?
I mean, Elevate was very special because we played the Triple Guard and Double Hunter.
Sure.
So you can't really compare that with anything else, like playstyle wise anyway. But for our team this year, like I played with Genetics last year,
right?
And we were basically two men like steering that team of where we wanted to go with how we wanted to play. And this year we got Phaelus, who's basically, I'd say, the same level as the last round. Like their playstyles are a bit different, but like their skill and how they fit in the team is basically the same. And with Maniac, I feel like we upgraded in solo a lot over Alexi. Not that Alexi was bad, but like Maniac's just pretty good.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like we're just really well rounded, and no one's gonna like throw you a game, and everyone can just step it up. So I feel like that's really good.
Sure. We'll keep it with you here, DeathPanter, to talk about Out Cold then. a team that I'm sure you guys had your eyes on at the beginning of the year as, holy crap, these guys are going to be really sick. What has it been like playing against them? What stands out to you?
Yeah, I thought like when the rosters got announced, I thought it was going to be a 2-horse race between us and Outgold at the start. But then even in Split 1, like Flashpoint at some point were like 4-0, and we were very lacking. So it was very surprising actually at the start. But mostly I feel like they just needed to build up synergy. Like you could tell that now as well. Like they're playing a lot better. And I feel like they're actually very similar to us. Like they're just very well-rounded team. No one's making a lot of mistakes. You just like play around your mid game.
Yeah, absolutely. Netrioid, how about for you? When you watch Prime and those guys play, what stands out?
When I first saw at the rosters, I was like, oh, they have PrettyPrime, they have a Spurio, which is a good ADC, and what I was like, oh, this team is pretty much gonna win, I guess. But sometimes problems happen, sometimes that synergy doesn't go well, stuff. So you just have to wait, and you have to work on your errors, and that's what they do, and that's why they're here. So I'm really glad.
Sops?
Kind of the same with Simplicity. I feel like they team fight really well. It's kind of hard to catch just like one individual player like making a mistake and like pushing up too far. Like everyone else was saying, at the start of this play, I'm like, yeah, this team's like really good. Surely they'll be contending for first place. And I mean, like they're here now, so it worked out in the end for them. So.
Yeah, absolutely. This was the end goal, I suppose. I mean, Prime, was there any frustration at the beginning of the year when things weren't going your way? Was it ever like, man, we got me and Dimmy and Frosty, like all this talent, like what's going on?
Not in the start. I thought it was going to be kind of rough in the start, but I guess we had Melita for a while though.
Yeah.
But then he never ever played a game, did he though? Yeah. He was in and Hazer sub for him. So.
Right. He was on the roster, and that's about it.
It's important for the image, really. Get some world champions in there. No, but I thought it was going to be easier, and it took a while to kind of build up synergy. And I don't know, like we used to play quite a lot different, I feel like. But we kind of had to mesh a bit. Like Frost is the only one that really plays kind of different because he's a bit of a loose cannon sometimes. So you kind of gotta be on your toes, really.
It's like you'd be scrimming, and then either Frosty plays one of his 4 gods, and he's insane.
Yep.
Or he's like, dies twice before 5 minutes, and then something flicks, and he builds full movement speed and goes 0-50. And it's just like, that's your scrims.
You gotta be patient, really. You know?
That's a late game build, you know? Yeah, you just gotta get there for it. Sops, we'll start with you when talking about Sanguine, because Sanguine's kind of become the talk of the town when it comes to North American Minor League. They get a lot of praise from a lot of the SPL teams. What stands out to you about Sanguine?
Team fight, literally team fight. Especially this weekend, or it was like last week. I can't remember.
Yeah.
When we were watching them play, it was looking pretty bad at the start. Like people just getting picked in lanes, and once it got to team fights, it's like just a completely different team. It's just like they mesh so well together that it's hard to really see anything coming with them. So definitely their team fights.
Yeah, 100%. I see where you're coming from. Prime, I mean, I'm sure you guys have been watching Sanguine in preparation for this week. What, well, I hope you've been watching Sanguine in preparation for this week. What stands out about them?
We're kind of slow at prepping though. It's not been a lot of prep really. The only thing I've only heard that you're mechanical beast really. I haven't watched any SML that much. Like, there's quite a lot of games to watch with the EE ones, and then I watched SML. SPL.
And then SPL as well.
Yeah. I don't know. I mainly just know that they're mechanical beasts. Like, I don't really know that much more, to be honest.
Sure. I mean, hey, mechanical beasts and team fighting, that'll get you a long way a lot of the time. Panther, how about for you?
Yeah, I've watched because the last 3 weeks in NASML, there was like Sanguine against Hype, Armada against Hype, and then Armada against Sanguine. So that was like, I watched those 3 games. For me, what stood out most was actually Panitim and Wrongyu. Like their jungle support were actually very, very strong. That's the most impressive for me. They literally like 2 men carry your team fights.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like Netrioid that every game someone else can just hard carry it. Kind of like what was said about Panther's team in Simplicity. It's just like everyone has an opportunity to really pop off. I mean, how good does it feel to be getting all this recognition from SPL teams? And you know, we've done a lot of role queues, and I go, who's an underrated player? And every episode, someone says someone from your team. It is 100%. How good does that feel for you guys?
It feels so good right now, and it feels like that's an inspiration for us to come here and make even things better. And as you said, and everyone in the team can carry, like, and that's kind of crazy. For example, Shinto pop-ups or an ERAM, so it's kind of good for us to have that motivation, to have that confidence with each other.
Does that level, I mean, this is probably the highest level of expectation from a fan perspective or, from a broadcast perspective that you've had. Do you guys feel that at all? Do you feel any of that pressure?
Not really. We feel like we're going to do great. We're going to play it as we always have. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we'll keep it with you here then, Netrioid, to talk about Sops and Hype Unit, because they burst onto the scene. I mean, they were, it's fifth and sixth teams added on. Who cares? It's Hype Unit. Benny Q's going to build Blink Chiron. No one will, it won't matter. But they killed it at the beginning of the year. Yeah. I mean, how much did that catch you off guard, and what do they do really well?
We felt like they played the map at the early games so well, and they punish our picks where they have more pressure than us, and we were like, okay, we're doing something wrong here. We're picking bad, but it was too late because they were already like the first seed.
Yeah.
And they looked so strong at the beginning. We were like, I don't know how we can win against them, but we start talking. We said, okay, not frustration. Let's be a team, and things worked out.
Yeah, you're able to turn it around. DeathPanter, what have you seen from Hype Unit? You said you watched a couple of their big games towards the back end of the year.
Yeah, also at the beginning of the split, they went like 5-0.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was mostly off the back of they played Oloran basically every game.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like teams hadn't figured out how to deal with it yet. And then even if it only wins you one game per set, it's still like the one game advantage that you have.
Yeah,
and they
100%.
only need to win one more. So I feel like they got a lot of their wins off the back of that. And then after that, they kind of, well, I guess they went 2-3 at the end.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, you still make it, so it doesn't really matter. But
Sure. Yeah, I remember Benny Q tweeting an awful lot. End of sentence. And I remember Benny Q tweeting an awful lot about how good Olarun was and how it was crazy that no one else was playing him. Prime, has anything stood out in the games that you've watched of Hype Unit?
It's going to be a bit of the same answer, really. I'm a busy man. No,
I know.
It's pretty bad, but I haven't watched that many games. I'm going to be completely honest.
Sure. Respect your honesty.
So I don't really have much, man. I could make something up, but it's not going to sound good.
Yeah, okay. I feel you on that one. I mean, Sops, did you guys expect that level of success right away?
Yeah, solely because Benny Q is like probably the most confident player I've ever talked to. And he's literally always like, yeah, we just win. So we definitely expected at least second place, like coming into the split. Being able to like 2-0 everyone for the first half was definitely a big surprise. And I think it definitely had to do also with the team comps. Because like, yeah, we ran Oloran, but we also had an idea of like what else we wanted around it.
Sure.
So, but yeah, it definitely was on the back of Oloran. We talked about it so much too. And yeah, that's why Ben was tweeting about it. And no one would like really, I guess, believe it.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, hey, it paid off. I also think that when I watched, especially that great streak at the beginning half, Mollusk was able to control the pace of the game really, really well. Do you also feel like he's a big factor for you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like the way he plays and the gods he plays, they're usually pretty big on team fighting. Takes a bit to ramp up, but I'd say if we were looking for something, he would always have to be there. But we also relied a lot on Pegon. Pegon would call a lot of team fights. He's actually like a really smart player, and unfortunately not with us, but still confident with Gamma going in.
Yeah, I think Gamma's played pretty well since stepping in for you guys. I mean, obviously, every time we talk about minor league teams coming to LAN, playing against SPL teams, that's the goal. Is to it feels like to snipe out and shoot down some of these bottom end SPL teams that you feel like you can beat. And when talking about the gap is smaller than it's ever been, feels like there's a pretty good opportunity for you guys. One of these teams to make a potential run. Are there any SPL teams that you think that you particularly match up well against, or are teams that you're particularly excited to play against this week potentially, Prime?
Well, we probably play SK, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, you are on that side of the bracket.
So I'm pretty excited to play SK because I've never played against Paul, Sam, and stuff, so that's pretty exciting. I wouldn't say we match up the best against them because I think they are by far the best SPL team here. Even though Obey and LG has been looking a lot better lately. Mm-hmm. But I think that's going to be fun at least. I think we can definitely win it though, but it's gonna be fun to see how big that difference is. Like since I played in the SPL last year, and see if you're gonna crumble this time when you come back. You know, a year later, and you look a bit shameful. I don't know.
That's what you got to wait and see. You know, it's what you got to watch this week. Panther, how about you? Any SPL teams you got your sights on?
Well, we play Obey first round, so we done like decent research on them. So, I mean, we'll have to see. The thing is, right, with the bracket, the way it goes, you have to win so many games that if you lose your first game straight away, like your chances are so small already. So you kind of need to be able to win that first game. Otherwise, like, it's basically already done.
I mean, didn't you beat Trifecta,
Yeah, we beat
last
Trifecta
year?
last year.
And they made the run.
Yeah,
you know?
they did. Maybe we should have lost that game. I don't know.
Yeah, that should have been the strat. So certainly possible, but undoubtedly hard. I completely agree with you. Netrioid, how about you?
I think we play SSG first round, and they have been looking pretty good recently. And it's gonna be a fun match, to be honest. Let's see how we do it, and feel pretty confident about it.
I mean, SSG is probably the team that's made the most, like, looked the most different these last few weeks at the SPL level. I'm sure a couple weeks ago you would have been feeling really, really good about that matchup because they were struggling. You think that this swap with Andenser over to long lane, are you excited to play against him?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, maybe he can, I don't know, try something out, something new, and
Even more new.
Yeah, even more new. The Kamazats and Scylla or whatever he was playing.
Hades, like. Yeah.
Oh my god, I forgot about the Hades. You're ready for that matchup, right? I mean, you gotta be. That's one top tier. You know, gotta be ready for it. Sops, what about for you?
I'd say we're really confident against both SPL teams on our side of the bracket, which is LG and Obey. I'd say we fare like well against them, so I'm pretty confident going into this LAN. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
I mean, let's say for the sake of the discussion, let's say you guys all make it through. You know, only two of you can, but whatever. But at the end of the light at the end of the tunnel is either Team Rival or Splice. You know, once you make it to Worlds, I mean, does that feel intimidating to know that you've got to go up against two of the potential favorites for the World Championship?
Yeah, I'd say it's pretty scary. Splice is probably the scariest. Rival kind of started falling off, but they're still a really good team, so can't count them out for sure. So yeah, it's scary, but I feel like this season any team could just take the win no matter what, especially during team fights. So I think regardless, I'd be fine playing either of them.
Sure. That's right. How about for you? Does that goal in mind at the end of either Rival or Splice kind of temper your expectations at all?
I mean, you're going out from qualifiers, you know, placements. You're like, okay, we're in. But then you see, okay, we're facing
like,
Rival,
here we are.
Splice. Well, we'll see what we can do, and hopefully everything works out.
Yeah, I totally feel you on that. How about you, Panther?
Yeah, I mean, at MSI, we played Dig. I feel like we played okay, but then we kind of got stunned once we reached like 25 minutes. But on the other side, like Armada beat Rival, and it's only a best of 3, right? Like, if you win one game, then suddenly everything looks different. So it's not the worst, but mainly for now, we're just looking at this week still, because that's very far away.
Sure, absolutely. Prime?
Yeah. I don't know. I would much rather face Rival, to be honest, because I would like to face Twig, I think.
Yeah.
Would kind of just be fun. I don't know if it would have had a better chance, though I read him like an open book. But it's going to be, I don't know, just making it through this week would make it feel great, even if we lost the first game at LAN, next one. Like, I don't really think about it at all, because you're going to have to do so much prepping this week. Like, after every game you play, you're going to have to prep for another set the next day. So I haven't really thought about it now.
Yeah, definitely a little bit far away. The other team that everyone's kind of talking about here at placements is Hype Unit Console, the console team that has Layers and Baronic and Inbound, guys who did pretty well last time they were here for Midseason Invitational. I mean, is that a team that you guys are also excited about the chance to potentially play? I believe they would play you, Prime.
They would play us, probably.
If they end first, anyway.
I would say I would be super excited to play them, because I feel like if you lose to console, it would kind of just be a hit to my confidence, you know?
Yeah.
You know, I'll go home and in shame anyway, really. No, but it's fun to see if they can, like, because they never really play on PC, and they're probably not going to prep that much for PC because they have console finals right before it.
Yeah, Sunday, tomorrow, they play in console finals.
It's pretty impressive to see how quickly they swap over, because if I would play on console, I would be horrible, like really bad.
It's hard.
So just the swap over is really impressive, but Yeah, I guess that's.
You didn't play against them at MSI, did you,
No,
Panther?
They beat Flashpoint and then they lost Armada.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, were you impressed with what you saw from them at MSI? You think they can make a run here?
Well, I think the win against Flashpoint was kind of off because they had Flashpoint had Sibi mid and then they had like their platinum sub in solo.
Right.
So like that was kind of off. But against Armada, they actually played very well. So still good showing.
I mean, I don't know if you guys have gotten a chance to practice against them at all or anything like that, but they're in the NA ranked scene a decent amount on PC. Any thoughts on that squad, Netrioid?
I mean, last LAN they made some kind of noise here, and yeah, it should be a fun match if we actually face them. So and see what can they do. You know, getting used to from console to PC is gonna be kind of fun.
Yeah, I mean, hype unit, org brothers, right, Sops? So you think they can do it?
Yeah, I think they can. We actually scrimmed them a couple times before coming here. They were one of our last few scrims. They were pretty nuts. I'm pretty sure we lost more than we won. So I definitely think they can throw some teams off and have a pretty decent chance to at least make it up in the bracket.
Well, that's a trap, though. Winning scrims is the worst thing you can do.
True.
You know,
That's not wrong.
That is something that you got to be concerned about. Well, guys, good luck this week. I'm really excited to get a chance to see you all beat the big boys. You know, you got to take down some of these SPL kids are all comfortable. They're here in Atlanta.
Overconfident.
You know, they're not ready for the SML guys. I'm looking forward to it. Good luck this week. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time here on Roll Q.